Yo, what's up? Stewart. Today's video is about how to write better dialogue for your characters. Now, there are different types of dialogue. There's more accented or enunciated dialects. But I'm talking about of just the words itself, not actually how they speak in forms of sound necessarily, but more of actually making your dialogue not seem stiff. I know I did a video of what not to write. That dialogue in that was kind of stiff. It's just very one word or two word type of sentences to response, which is perfectly fine. A lot of people do speak very quick, short sentences when they talk. In videos, they usually ramble on and on because they're the only ones talking and there's not really much of a conversation. But whenever there's conversations, it's a lot of back and forth unless it's more of a speech. But one way you can do better dialogue is to actually speak it. If you know what you're wanting to say but you don't know how to word it, actually sit down and speak it out loud. Record yourself with a voice recorder or a camera or on your phone or whatever. I find it a lot easier to actually say things than to try to figure out how to say it when you're typing. I know I have this problem a lot of times when people ask me questions and I'm like, oh, I know the answer, I know how to respond, but trying to formulate it into words to text somebody or send in an email or a message, it can be more difficult than what it sounds like. And if you're an author or a writer and you struggle with writing dialogue, that's basically what it is. A lot of times you know what you want said and how it's going to advance the story or give more insight to something. You just don't know the words, because in our author mind we want to, I guess, perfect exactly what we're saying. There is a certain way we have to write the narrative, certain prose and voice that we have to express. The whole show don't tell, don't use action, or don't use be verbs and stuff like that. A lot of action verbs and this and that actually shows and doesn't tell, and you want to cut down on that's and other weasel words that you just kind of cut out. That makes your writing tighter, and there's all these different guidelines and such that you want to use and to become familiar with to really perfect your narrative. But with dialogue, most of the stuff gets kind of thrown out. But us as authors and writers, we still want to try to use that as we write dialogue, and it's good to know how to use that and to use it. And it's good to know the different types of dialogue. You have more sophisticated people, their dialogue will be more sophisticated. They might use bigger words. They might say a certain phrase a certain way, while somebody else might, use something else to say it, like a lot of similes, stuff that's more relevant to the higher class people than the lower class, different stuff like that. But with actually writing it out, it is very difficult because we want to construct it in the way that we construct our narrative. And the problem with that is a lot of times it sounds stiff. It sounds too forced that way. And even when we're not trying to write it like that, we a lot of times have problems with writing stiff dialogue or seeming forced or whatever. And how you can better yourself at that is to actually say it out loud. It sounds weird, but I know a lot of times I do it. I kind of do it in my head a little bit, how it's playing out, but it's very hard to remember. The problem with saying it in your head is I can think about this big dialogue sequence between different characters and it sounds perfect. I'm like, alright, get my computer, sit down, and then I'm just like blank again, and then I struggle trying to remember exactly what I said because you're not going to remember it. As soon as this thought gets in your mind, it flees. So unless you're actually typing as you're thinking, then you're not going to remember it. And if you're typing when you're thinking, then you wouldn't really be watching this video, I wouldn't think, because then you have no problem with writing dialogue, because I'm sure you're thinking of it while you're writing. So when you try to struggle or you start struggling with that, you just grab your phone and turn the camera on, or get a voice recorder or something that you can record yourself with. Or, maybe even ask your wife, your husband, your spouse, a friend, family, whoever, to, what would you do? How would you say this? And listen to the words that they're saying. Just have them start talking and copy their words. That's why, like I keep saying, get a video. You ask me a question, I might be like, I don't know how to formulate words. And a lot of times, I'm like, let me call you. I can say it better than I can type it. So you get that aspect of it. If you video, you can just say it, and then you can play it back and actually see or hear what you actually said to get that point across. And that is probably my biggest tool. I know I did music and songs and stuff, and I would get ideas for lyrics and stuff, and that's actually what I did all the time. I walked around, or even while I was driving or whatever, I'd just grab my phone, hit the camera. It didn't have to be facing me, it could be facing the seat, or it could still be sitting in a little cup holder and wherever in my lap. But as long as I could hear it and I could record it, and then later I would go back and listen to it. And alright, otherwise I wouldn't remember it, or if I tried to remember it, the words just wouldn't seem right. So when you do that, you actually get a better understanding of what a person would really say in that situation, instead of making it seem forced. Like, I want him to say this, so this is what he's saying. When people don't necessarily talk that way. I know I go to monthly writing meetings locally, and we do critique sessions. And one of the things that kind of goes along with this is not necessarily with dialogue, now than it is, but when you type something up, like I said, you're trying to make it fit the same formula you do as your narrative usually, even if it's dialogue. And when you read it out loud, you're reading it more in your voice and not as much dialogue. So even though you might type up something, when you read it out loud, a lot of times you'll add words, change words, move words around, leave words out, or whatever, and that's because that's more natural for you to actually say it that way than what you wrote. I know a lot of like this last meeting I went to, we was listening to somebody and we had yada yada, but when they was talking they said weed, WE''D, which is the same thing, but when are doing narrative, we're more used to actually not using contractions as much, or if any. But in dialogue, people use contractions all the time, as well as certain words. There's one, something about gaining unnecessary weight, and whenever he was reading it, that's what he read, but it was supposed to be from like I think a 17-year-old's point of view or something, late teens, early adulthood, and from some boys who always kind of chatting about themselves, and that's just not something people would normally say. She eat more unnecessary weight. Talk about some chick being pregnant and eating chocolate or whatever she doesn't eat. She probably wouldn't want to gain unnecessary weight or something. I can't remember exactly what was being said, but it reads fine, but that's not really what would actually be said from that age group today. Maybe in the past or something, I don't know. Different age groups speak differently, as well as different class rank or money and political power or whatever. But in our age group, or that age group, I'm 29, so I guess I'm not technically in that age group anymore, but in that age group, saying unnecessary weight wouldn't be anything that I would think would actually come across, and it got brought up. It'd probably be more natural for someone that age talking about that, like, she doesn't eat chocolate because she might get fatter, something like that, more blunt and not as unnecessary weight. Sounds better, more nicer, but people are generally blunt when they're talking to stuff, especially when they are talking to a friend about something else. They're more blunt with them. I'm sure that person probably wouldn't be like, "Hey, you're looking fatter," to a pregnant woman, because that would offend her. But talking to a friend, yeah, she's getting fatter. That would be something they would say to their friend or whatever. So you gotta kind of think of who they are talking to, as well as who is saying it, the time period, the the age group who they're talking to, the time period, and their social status, how much education they have. And a lot of dialogue is very easily fixed by that. Just thinking of those things and speaking it out loud yourself. Get inside your character's head and just thinking from their mindset and actually speaking it aloud and listening to yourself. Like I said, if you have a camera or your phone around, record yourself so that way you can literally play it back and actually re-listen to what you said. And if you want to change some things around, you can. But it's easier to recollect it that way. If you don't, then it's easier to recollect what you said if you actually hear it than if it's just inside your mind. So just at least speak it out loud. So yeah, that's about all I have for this video. Like I said, it's not that many tips, like two tips, I guess. But it is what it is. All my links down below. If you got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, I guess YouTube. Nobody's telling me things, but I got those things, I guess. The links are down below, except YouTube, because I don't know. But y'all can go and check me out, subscribe, follow, tweet me, message me, comment, retweet my tweets, do whatever, like it, frown it, thumbs down, thumbs up, whatever. You do you, you do you, I do me. But yeah, all my links down below. I'm still looking for ARC reviewers and street team members and release day blitz participants if y'all are interested. All those links are down below for the sign-up sheets, as well as link to my websites down below. First chapter is available. Once I get more information on the progress of the formatting and stuff, I will let y'all know. And yeah, I might have some goodies for y'all once pre-orders go live and everything else. And the Battle for Matagor should be available this late spring, early summer. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy it. Y'all can go check out the first chapter on my website. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. Peace out. Yali. Everybody love everybody.